and it is class number 5 of our online course. And I can't even tell you guys how excited I get on Sunday mornings to get to hang with you. I love it when I get emails from you and it seems like we're so connected. And then on Sunday mornings when we get to hang together, it's just a very, very exciting time for me. So another packed class today, and I'm really excited to see you. One thing I want to notice or bring to your attention is this is such a cool class. So many of you are getting together and interacting and putting stuff together and doing stuff online and talking with each other online, and you're discovering things and you're learning things and you're helping each other and you're really working together. And I love to see an email when I tried this new thing that didn't even feel good to me and I discovered that I need to do this or I need to do that, or I tried this thing that I really love and it didn't work as I expected and I had to adjust in this direction or adjust in that direction. Yes, that is the best possible news of all, because that's exactly how you learn, and that's exactly how it's going to go with every client who walks into your office or every person that you interact with where you want some kind of persuasive outcome or you want an outcome that you want. So practicing is the way to get good. People can learn techniques and there can be the best techniques in the world, and I guarantee you that whomever invented a technique is probably making that technique work every time they use it, but it's not the technique. It is not the technique. It's everything else they do around the technique that creates the dance and creates the artistry. Okay, so all of the techniques are handy and they're all great fundamental points from which to start to build something on top of that. So definitely know the techniques, but also know that as you're working with your clients, sometimes you need to pull stuff out of thin air and use it. And the practice is how you learn how to do that and make it work. So this is the open frame. Everybody can talk. You can have your mics open, do whatever you want to do, and ask questions. There are a couple of things I want to bring up to you, and then if you have questions, by all means, let's get to that. So a couple of you have come up with this brilliant idea of taking that John Weir script. The John Weir script is not a brilliant script. It's not the best script in the world. It's just a handy script to use that's open-ended for a group, as an example, or to have metaphor, things like that inside of it. But a couple of you have come up with this brilliant idea of recording that script and listening to it and seeing how it works for yourself. And already the feedback has been amazing. Some of the feedback has been, oh my God, it's made a big difference in the way I feel the next day as they play it, either going to sleep or all night when they're sleeping. There's one student in the class I'm so thrilled about who's doing even a research project sort of on how well this works with sleep training. Okay, why not discover it? Robert Otto, who is the owner and head of IACT, claims, I don't have any reason to doubt him, but claims that he learned everything he needed to know about flying an airplane, not the actual flying of it, he did the lab work, but he learned everything he needed to know about the written part by having it on audio and listening to it as he slept every night. He listened to the manual every night for 3 months and then didn't do any other conscious study, went in and took the written test and passed it. So he learned all of that, he says, in his sleep. So one of our students is doing this research project to find out how much she can get accomplished in her sleep. I think that's wonderful. And why not? Her first paper or her first class may be teaching that. Why not discover it? So they've put that together. They're listening to their own voice, and they're also in that process discovering what works for them, what they would tweak. And so they're learning this from the inside out and discovering it as a client might discover it when they're with them. That's great. So many of you have reported that, oh, I really wanted to do something one way and then I realized I had to adjust, or my plan was this, so I realized I had to adjust. I thought we were both going to the same place and it didn't quite work out that way. Those are all of the things that are important things to learn, because that's the stuff that's going to come up when you're actually working with clients. There was one student who asked for an explanation of bypassing the critical factor, critical faculty, the yeah, but factor, whatever you want to call it. Okay, all of those names say the same thing. How do you get around that? Well, the critical factor, the yeah, but factor, is that block that occurs, or that safeguard that occurs once we start really developing logic and reason in our mind. And the conscious mind wants a logical, reasonable explanation for everything. Up until that develops in us, we're just like sponges. We just take everything in. It's really easy to let little kids believe in Santa Claus, because it doesn't matter if they see 16 of them at the malls, they still believe in a Santa Claus. It doesn't matter if they don't have a chimney, they can still imagine or get around that, because they're just little sponges, and Santa Claus is going to come visit and he's going to leave presents. So it's really easy to let little sponges, little subconscious beings without logic and reason, it's really easy to just tell them anything and they'll believe it. You don't want to give a 4-year-old who's just seen Superman, you don't want to give him a towel and put him on the roof, because they will completely believe that they can fly. Right? And there's nothing that's stopping that. Now, as the logic and reason starts to develop with the conscious mind, we have this kind of barrier that protects us. The subconscious mind sets up systems, if you want to use this analogy. It's just a metaphor, okay? It's just a metaphor. This isn't scientific research. I'm not writing a document here. I'm giving you a metaphor. If we can say the unconscious mind, according to one metaphor, is the operating system of our body. It controls our breathing, our heart rate, our digestion, the waste management system. The subconscious mind is our belief system, our values, our imagination. And then the conscious mind, when it develops, is logic and reason. So once logic and reason starts to develop, that's the yeah, but factor. And it says, oh yeah, but that won't work for me, or that's not what I believe, or it's the limiting beliefs. So what we want to do is find a way around the limiting beliefs. And we're going to do an outcome specification exercise today that will help you determine how, with each individual client, to get around their limiting beliefs, because it's different with each client. Now, when I use that kind of stacking metaphor, sometimes I have a client who wants me to know how smart he or she is. They want to know everything about everything. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time with that client explaining to them how the mind works and all these levels and how it's all working for them and it's all really important. And we're going to work in this realm and we're going to do this. And now they know about it. Now they're on board. Now they're doing it with me. There are some people who don't want to know any of that stuff. I'm not going to spend any time explaining to them the levels of the mind, or we're working in the subconscious mind, or we're doing any of that. Some people just want the magic, and that's okay. I had a 30-year career in radio, and it didn't make any difference to me how my voice got from the studio to the car. I didn't care how that worked. It was good enough for me that it arrived there and everybody heard me. Okay? And so there are going to be people like me who don't care about the underpinnings. There are going to be people who do care about how every little nuance works. And then you got to manage your time and decide how much you want to give them. But have a whole bunch of metaphors so that you can deal with the client in front of you. There's also a great, when I do my stacking metaphor, I have another one. I have the super conscious mind. So my stacking metaphor, you know what, let me make a note. I'll send you what it looks like, but it's just a metaphor. It's not the right one. It's just a metaphor, okay? My stacking metaphor has the super conscious, the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious, just so I can explain different things about how the mind works. The super conscious includes their intuition and their wisdom and everything else, that their angel guides or spirit guides or the universe or whatever else they might believe in. So I just have a whole bunch of different layers so that I can grab whatever their belief system is and apply it to what we're talking about. Okay, there's another great metaphor that's the simplest one. It's like an iceberg. what we see on the top, what we consciously know about is the tip of the iceberg, and then everything else is under the surface. And that's all where the working goes. Okay, that's a simple one. When I work with millennials, I talk about apps. It's just like your smartphone. And when you get your smartphone, it comes already pre-bundled with a variety of things. And we don't really want to mess around with the operating system. We want it to stay intact. But if we discover as we have it that we want something extra, we want an extra game, we just go to the app store and we download it. And so we've got an additional app. And then if we want something else, we add another app and we add another app. And if we go along and we discover that one of those apps that we added is slowing down the workings or isn't working the way we wanted it to, or we found a better app and we want to get that one off our phone, then we just delete that app and we can add another one, or we can change it, or we can recode it, or we can rewrite it. And so when I'm talking with someone who has the digital background, right, who came up with that digital knowledge, I'm going to adapt my explanation to where they are. So I am certainly, bless you, Pam, I am certainly not going to start with the client and say, oh, come in, welcome, sit down, let me teach you how the mind works. I don't know if they need that. I don't know if they want that. I don't know if I'm going to spend any time on that. I don't know if I'm going to tell them anything about that at all. I think I told you the story about the guy who wanted his taste buds changed. And he called and said, I saw a stage show. Can you change my taste buds? The stage hypnotist did. Well, in telling me that and listening carefully to that, what I knew was I had a guy who believed in magic. I didn't need to give him a whole lot of explanation about how I can make this happen. I just needed to make his arm stiff and rigid like a steel bar, and he couldn't bend it. Oh my God, she's got the power. We changed his taste buds and he went home, and I didn't give him any instruction on how it works because he didn't care, right? We made the change. So my job is to figure out what it's going to take with that person to help them make the change they want. Not to have as much knowledge as I have, or not to do it the way I do it. My job is to figure out how it will work best for them to make the change they want to work. So any more questions on explaining the critical factor or explaining hypnosis or any of that stuff? Melissa Tiers is famous for saying, and she couldn't be any more right, all this shit's made up. All of it. Everything they brought into our office is made up, and everything we do to help them change it is made up. It's all made up. It's our imagination. We constructed it. If it doesn't have to do with startling or sucking or digesting or eliminating, it's probably made up. Okay? And so we're going to help them make up something that works better for them. We got to find out first, what are they making up? What do they want instead? And then how can we help them by carefully listening to what's stopping them? How can we help them get around that? And it's going to require helping them make better or different pictures in their head, sounds in their head, beliefs in their head. Okay? Remember, when everybody thought the earth was flat, the earth was still as round then as it is now. And as soon as somebody gave them a reason to believe that they weren't going to fall off the edge, they started sailing, taking trips. So we're just changing beliefs. We're just changing beliefs. One student reported that, oh gosh, this was so brilliant. I love this, I love this, I love this. They're trying out language patterns and other things on everybody. As an example, their 6-year-old granddaughter. Oh my gosh, and how can you maneuver and get things done with your 6-year-old granddaughter? By just changing the way you make a request. Would you like to brush your teeth in this bathroom or that bathroom? Oh, I choose this one. Okay, what our outcome was getting them to brush their teeth. We don't care which room they choose. And if it makes them brush their teeth, and a choice will help that outcome, then we give them a choice, right? However, they discovered, and I wrote this down, Don't ask the 6-year-old. Now, as we're working with language patterns, right? The language pattern is get dressed. Don't ask the 6-year-old, would you like to get dressed? Because they might say, no, I want to stay naked all day. So be careful what options you give them, right? And that's what they discovered. You wouldn't say, would you get dressed? That wouldn't be the right command or embedded suggestion or request for that particular person, listener. So instead of saying, would you like to get dressed? You might say, would you like to wear the green shirt or the red shirt today? You're still giving them an option, okay? But now you've created a place where they have to make the decision. Like a defense attorney, we hypnotists, a defense attorney would never ask a question they don't already know the answer to, like, does the glove fit? A good defense attorney would never ask a question they hadn't already checked out to make their point. They're trying to win a case, right? So a good defense attorney won't ask a question they don't already know the answer to make their point. Don't give a suggestion that you don't already know the outcome for. You want to know the outcome so that you can properly suggest to this individual client how they're going to reach that outcome. Know your outcome, know their outcome and your outcome before you present the suggestion. We're going to play with some stuff in just a moment about that. So those are your homework, your lab reports. Oh my God, you guys are just brilliant. And those of you who are getting together and working together, you are going to be absolutely phenomenal hypnotists because you're learning so much in the practice. That's what I have for the open frame. And I took a little longer than I expected. Anybody else have a question or want to add anything? Yes, Rich.
What was the difference between XOR X bind and XOR Y bind? They're both double binds, but I was just wondering what was the difference.
That might be a better thing that you could answer if you don't mind, since you're with us. You got to unmute yourself though.
Yeah, the question you said, Richard, the difference between X and XOR.
There was two double binds that we was doing. One was an XOR X bind, and one was an XOR Y bind. I think. Have I got that right?
Well, okay, yeah. What you're calling X or X, and I guess I may have written it that way, is a non sequitur bind, where basically both of the things that you're offering are exactly the same. So, so in other words, would you like to go into hypnosis on the sofa, or would you rather just sit there on the couch? So, two words for the same thing, but it's exactly the same. Yeah. Whereas an X or Y bind is, would you like to close your eyes slowly, or would you like to allow them to close quickly? So they're two different things, but the goal is the same. You want to, because what you're going for is eye closure, right? So there's either two different ways, that's the X or Y, or there's the same way said in two different sets of words. Would you like to sit down in the chair, or would you rather just get comfortable in that seat? That's an X. That's an X bind, right? It's actually an X or X bind, right? They're both the same.
Okay.
Get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And that is a little bit about what I'm talking about with your learning style, okay? Rich, brilliantly, wants to understand how it works, and with the understanding of how it works, he can adapt it to something else. Would that be correct, Rich? You want to deepen your understanding of how of the mechanisms underneath it, how it works, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I like to just give me the stuff and I'll adapt it the way it works. That's what we're going to do now with magic words and language patterns. I want you, as you're paying attention to these, to understand all of the underlying formulaic methods that Michael taught, okay? But I'm going to teach you just today a couple of phrases that will give you some ways to start working with that. Does that make sense? So I'm moving to the end game so that you've got the answers and you can plug in some information. And then you can deepen your understanding about it there with what Michael taught. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions? We ready to go? Yay. Okay. So I sent you a couple of handouts, magic words and language patterns. And if you'll bring those out, we're going to just recap them very quickly, and then we're going to use some in a moment. I'm going to move this back to speaker view for a moment for the recording, not because I like looking at myself. Actually, if you're doing a class, this might help you too. When you're working on Zoom, right, to really make great eye contact with the person you're talking to, you look into the camera. And right now I'm looking into the camera, so it kind of, I think, looks a little bit more like I'm looking straight at you. When I have me on the screen in full camera view, I spend a lot less time looking at the screen and a lot more time looking at that little hole in the camera just to talk to you, because I don't need to see me. When I've got it in gallery view, I want to see all y'all. But right now, we'll just do it this way. And we'll return to gallery view in a moment. So the top 20 magic change words. First of all, ain't nothing magic about them. It's just human nature and how the mind processes information. We're always taking in information. So these are just some shortcuts as to how to parse your language, how to use your language so that you're getting the outcome that you desire. So when we look at the top 20 change words, easily, naturally, automatically, those kinds of words, direct your client to soften whatever's going to happen, and you will easily walk those stairs every time you get to the office. Easily passes that critical factor, because we don't have any dispute with the word easy, right? We don't have any resistance to that. So that word goes in, oh, it's going to happen easily. And you will naturally begin to drink more water every day. Automatically, water becomes your favorite drink. Now, the word automatically sets up a whole different layer of understanding for the command, water becomes your favorite drink. Automatically. Oh, so instantly that's going to happen. Okay. And as the mind takes that, it happens. It does. The next layer of words, aware, realize, experience, notice, be aware. Now that you're realizing, so the ing elements of the word can work just as well. You're directing your client to notice what comes up. Be aware that your eyes are closing now. Realize that the longer you stare at that spot, the heavier your eyelids become. When you preface that with realize, it sounds important. It sounds like, oh yeah, okay, realize this, okay, I can do that. So you're directing them to do what that one word says to do. If you'd like to play with some nuances, Rich, you and Jerry might really like this. Not that everybody else won't, but you two like to parse nuances. So think about this. Jerry, let me just ask you. Let me ask you, if you don't mind, unmute yourself for a second. And play with me on this and notice, Jerry, if experience feels different to you than experiencing. Let me say it this way. Right now, Jerry, I'd like you to experience the feeling of being on the spot. Because I just placed you on the spot. How does that feel? Kind of.
It feels normal, very natural to just experience that.
You started going in and experiencing.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And as you now, Jerry, are experiencing being put on the spot, how does that change it?
I like experiencing. I feel it's more active and more dynamic, and I'm more in it, perhaps.
Okay. Everybody notice I chose Jerry in particular because I was pretty sure that was the exact response I was going to get out of him, because that's exactly what I wanted. Yes, the ing is more active. It's more moving. Okay. So if I want somebody to do something now, I might make it very direct. As you experience this now, as you are experiencing this, that makes it an ongoing thing, right? That means it's continuing. Would that be correct, Jerry?
Oh yeah, yeah. I really uh, what is it, that active process of ing is something I think about a lot, and I like it.
And as you're
And
realizing that you like it, how is that going to make you react with it?
yeah, and it allows me to be aware of language and how you use it and how you can be dynamic and have people take their experience and actually engage in experiencing in a process.
Yes. So there's nothing particularly magic about the words, but when you know what the words guide somebody to do, you can perform a little bit of magic in the artistry in the way that you use the words.
Right.
Okay. So now we're adding the artistry. Whatever you tell them, they will. Notice that when I ask you to notice something, you begin noticing it right away. And right now, you don't even know what I've asked you to notice because I really didn't ask you to notice anything but something. And by the way, that was just hypnotic patter where I said absolutely nothing. But while I was saying absolutely nothing, you were going in your mind trying to make sense of it. And so I was encouraging you to do the work, make sense of what I'm saying here. And that's really what we're doing with hypnosis. So as we tell them to expand, go beyond, your resources will be unlimited. We cause the subconscious mind to focus on space, making it bigger. As we work together here today, you expand your possibility for change. And as you are noticing the expansion of that possibility, you move forward with the steps that you've already decided today to take to make your possibilities unlimited. Your possibilities for success. Yes, Jerry?
I was just thinking of the word awareness because oh yeah, you have awareness there, awareness and realize, because sometimes you're aware, sometimes you can be aware that you're experiencing things, and sometimes you might not be aware of the things that you're actually experiencing. And you might
Jesus,
not
how
be
hypnotic
aware.
was that? How hypnotic was what he just said? If you got a client who is not necessarily responding in a way that you expected them to, what you just said would be perfect. And isn't it wonderful to know that you can be aware of yourself being aware of the awareness of experiencing whatever it was you said? I
Right,
just
right, right.
yeah.
Awareness is a very interesting word that way because it's so vague.
They're all so vague. The beauty of all of these is they're so vague that we don't know consciously that we're even responding to them. That's what helps them pass that critical factor so easily. Because we aren't even aware that something is being told to us, or that we're being directed to do something. We use the word realize in desultory conversation all day long. We request awareness all day long. So those words don't sound like anything that we would even have reason to resist. Nobody's really commanding or directing or suggesting that we do something when they just say realize something. Whoa, that's a suggestion that just lands without any resistance, right? And by the way, I can see Jerry, Rich, and Pamela right now on the side of my screen. If anybody else, and that changes, but if anybody else wants to say something, I saw Jerry raise his hand a moment ago. Unmute your mic and ask, okay? Because I may not be able to see you. I don't have it in gallery view right now. So let's move on to focusing on space, expanding your horizons beyond, go beyond your limits and make this change. Your possibilities are unlimited. The next set, before, after, begin, during, now, those are cause the subconscious mind to think about time. And as you're thinking about time now, you can begin to understand how well these work. Dropping in that now, let you know when I wanted you to think about time. Before you begin to relax completely now, notice your breathing. Now, I embedded a suggestion, relax completely now, but I softened it I allowed the subconscious mind to think about time before you begin to relax completely. Now, notice your breathing. So I've given a couple of sets of suggestions and then sent their conscious mind off to do something else. Notice your breathing while the subconscious mind is still beginning to relax, and letting that happen completely now. Okay? Imagine, and if you've got questions about these, please ask them, because I'm running through it. What I would like to do after this class is I will send you a little bit more complete class on just magic words and language patterns, workshop I did a couple of years ago. I'll send that to you on video, so if you want to really dive into a little bit more of this and how it works and hear more of my stories, I will send that to you. You can do that on your own time. But today we're just going to run through it, and if you've got questions, please speak up and ask. We've done enough of this that I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on it. Imagine and create are great one-word inductions for making stuff up. Imagine how well this works for you as you do X, Y, and Z. Imagine how much fun it will be to brush your teeth when you get to choose the sink you use. Now, I don't know if you're going to brush your teeth in the bathroom or in the guest bathroom or the kitchen sink. Now, which do you choose? So we're just playing with that little brush your teeth scenario. And as I'm making this up as I go, I can't tell you that I am making up the perfect suggestions every single time. I can't say that I'm making up the perfect suggestion as I'm working with the client and patterning along. But it doesn't matter if it's perfect, because they're picking up what they need to know out of it anyway. As long as we're going in the same direction, they're picking up what they need to know out of it. Don't, was there a question? Okay, don't is one of those interesting words that some people say the subconscious mind can't process negatives, and I think that's BS. The subconscious mind can process all sorts of stuff. Why couldn't it process a negative? But it does take a little bit of a two-step process, and we talked about this already, I think. If I ask you to think of a dancing pink elephant, you might or you might not. If I say don't think of a dancing pink elephant, the dancing pink elephant appears. Don't think of a dancing pink elephant. And it appears, and whatever you do, don't put spots on the elephant. Don't put purple spots on it. And don't have it in a tutu, because that would just be ridiculous. So don't have the dancing pink elephant with spots in a tutu, whatever you do. Now, the subconscious mind, in order to even go along with that, has to bring up the picture, whether you see the pictures or not, has to bring up the image so that you'll know what to cancel out. Okay? So that's why it's a two-step process. Don't relax too quickly now. You got to bring up the image of relaxation before you cannot do it too quickly. And then you might say, screw you, watch me. So the subconscious mind might rebel against that don't. It might be the best thing you want to use right now, because the subconscious mind say, you're not going to tell me what to do. Watch me. I'm going to relax as fast as I want to. I'll do it on my own. So they're fun to play with. See how they work for you. But is the magic word that eliminates everything that came before it. You're a great student, but you don't study enough. The emphasis is on what you don't do, not what you're good at. And is the great multiplier. You can stack things as you move along with and. And because, we've already discussed, is the great explainer. Whenever you give a reason for something, it makes sense, because reasons are important to the mind. Because I said so. Because I'm the mom, that's why. I mean, that stuff comes up all the time. I think because I'm the mom, that's why is a pretty piss poor way to get somebody to do something, but it works for a lot of parents, right? All right, I'm going to move from there to the language patterns. We're going to run through them real quick just to tell you a little bit. Now, these are this is a cheat sheet. There are 10 language patterns here that are it's just a cheat sheet. When I've taught a class on magic words and language patterns, I have had students who told me that they take these 2 pages, the language pattern pages, and they keep it on their desk, and that is their script. Because you can use just these 10 language patterns and fill in the benefits, fill in the limits, fill in whatever you need to do, and just patter around these, using these back and forth. You could use them all along the way. We're going to do that exercise in just a moment. And I have had students tell me that they don't use any more than the 10. I think they probably use more than they realize, but that they make their whole scripts out of these 10. Many people have joined my language pattern of the month group, and I send a new one out each month. So a great way to work with language patterns. There are a couple of great ways to work with language patterns. Some people like to use them all at once. Some people like to use them one at a time until they get really good at them. Either way is better. Do it the way that works for you, okay? So let's say that you like it. Have you ever made spaghetti? Go with me on this. Some people who make spaghetti test the doneness of their spaghetti by picking up a piece of spaghetti and throwing it against the wall. It's a way to test spaghetti. It's a way to mess up your wall too, but it's a great way to test pasta. If you throw it against the wall and it sticks, the pasta's done. If you throw it against the wall and it slides down the wall, it needs a little more cooking time. Great analogy, by the way, because that's what we do with our clients. If you are cooking spaghetti and you take a strand of spaghetti out and you throw it against the wall and it slides down the wall, you don't say, oh shit, I'm not any good at this. I better throw out all the spaghetti because I obviously can't cook spaghetti. You don't do that. You say, thank you for the feedback. It's not quite done yet. I'll cook it another minute or two and then throw another strand up there and see if it sticks. You simply take the feedback, you adjust around it, and you move on appropriately. Now, once it sticks, you can say, the spaghetti's done, turn it off, and drain it. Some people like to test their spaghetti in a slightly different way. Some people want to know if all of the strands are done enough, so they pick up the whole pot of spaghetti, throw it all against the wall, and every strand that sticks is done. They pick it off and they eat that. So I don't care how you practice these language patterns. You use the strategy that works the best for you. You can use all 10 of them in everything that you do and just plug stuff in, or you can take one language pattern a week or a month, depending on how you want to do it, and use it over and over and over and over again. Use it in conversation, use it with people you meet on the street, use it with store clerks, use it with your clients. However it becomes part of your muscle memory and part of your ability to use is the best way for you to learn it. So you have 10, and you can do that any way that you want to. Let's look at the 10, and some of these we've already looked at. I'm wondering if you will right now, while you're in this class, discover the unlimited use of embedded commands. Because when you get home, you'll want to use them immediately. Now that threw in some words, that threw in some, how will you do this? I didn't tell you to go learn these. I'm just wondering how you're going to do it. I'm wondering if you can imagine being totally smoke-free and realize the good feelings it will give you. So I threw in the magic word realize. I'm just wondering, and of course what I want them to do is imagine being totally smoke-free. I'm wondering if you can right now imagine being totally smoke-free. How that works for you. And then if your client has told you that, wow, it's going to give them more time, they're going to save more money, I'm wondering if you can right now imagine being totally smoke-free. And I'm curious what you'll do with the extra money, what you'll do with your extra time, whatever it is that their benefits are. Okay, so you're instructing them to imagine something, and then you're building onto it from there. Again, if you guys have questions as I'm going along this, because I'm going to do it quickly, unmute your mic and just ask. Don't be afraid. You probably already know. You probably already know that I am the best language pattern instructor in the business. Did you get that embedded command? Good, thank you. You're probably already aware that this is going to be so easy for you to accomplish. It's amazing. You're probably already aware that if you practice these patterns with your grandchildren and with other people, it's going to be so easy when you get with clients. Okay, there's that. You're probably already aware. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being so proficient at delivering suggestions that you can do it with anybody, whether their eyes are open or closed? Can you imagine being so good at this that you use it with everybody, whether it's on purpose or accidental? Can you imagine doing this with people, with all people, not just those who are in your chair? Can you imagine using language patterns with people in conversation, even when their eyes are wide open and they're conversing back with you? A person might, Rich, be excited about practicing this. One can, Pam, become very diligent about practicing. A person might, Pam, really become interested in practicing language patterns every chance they can get. So when I throw the name in, it really wakes them up. Remember being in a class, talking or giggling with the person next to you and the teacher stopped talking in the front? You looked up. Or if you were talking and suddenly your name was spoken, oh my gosh, you looked up. So if there's something you really want to draw their attention to, you can, Pam, practice frequently, can you not? What suggestion did I give to Pam? You got your mic open, tell me. Pam?
Oh, I'm supposed to answer, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. You can, Pam, practice frequently, can you not?
Yeah.
And what was the direct suggestion that I gave to you?
The practice, doing the practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When the name came up, brings your attention to it more, and then I drop practice frequently right in there.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to number 6, I don't know if that, it's a very handy pattern. I don't know if you decide to take the stairs at every opportunity or you decide to park further away when you get to the store, but you know how you're going to do it to get extra steps. So I'm going to give them options. I don't know which option you're going to choose. If I were to suggest, Twyla, I haven't seen you in a while. Do you mind if I play with you for a second? If you'll unmute your microphone, Twyla. Thank you. So I don't know, Twyla, if you will close your eyes instantly or if you will require more hypnosis to close your eyes. But you know. And as we move along here together, you will also let me know. I wonder if you open your eyes and you close your eyes, if your eyes will then just stay closed or if you'll open them back up again. As you try that now, I will be able to determine.
Do you want me to close my eyes?
I didn't pin your video, so I didn't get to see you actually as I was doing this. Okay, so, okay.
I was listening, I wasn't following. Okay.
Close your eyes for a second. Close
Okay.
your eyes for a second. We've got it pinned on you now so we can see you.
Okay.
And as you begin to relax now, I don't know if you decide to relax from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes, or if you decide to start at your toes and relax all the way to the top of your head. You know, I even had a client who decided to relax from their waist out. They went up and down at the same time, and I don't know which you will choose, but you know, as you relax completely. Okay, so we're not doing hypnosis, so open your eyes and come back.
Okay. I wanted to jump up and down in my chair is what I wanted to do. Because you did the waist thing, so that's kind of what I was thinking at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
I don't know. That's just what I wanted to do. I wanted to bounce. Yeah.
And with how does that help you relax?
It probably doesn't actually.
Okay, but that doesn't matter because you were you wanted to bounce, and what would that do for you?
I get my adrenaline's gonna go. I guess I'm gonna get excited. I don't really know, but you said waist up, and so I wanted to bounce. That's what I was doing. So
okay, perfect. So it doesn't matter what they do. She was doing the work inside of her. I didn't have to tell her to bounce. I just said from the waist out, and it took her off on a direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't feel like I was demanding you to relax.
No, I was doing my own thing. Yeah.
Because they always do.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say they always do, because in some cases they do it. They need to be told what to do. Some people don't do well with options. And so some people might say, I don't know which to choose. I don't know which to choose. Just give me one. Okay. So if we had a client that we discovered that with, I don't know which to do. Please tell me. You're the expert. Tell me. Then you'll know not to give them options. Right?
Okay.
So let's pretend for a moment that you're not an options person.
Right.
Twyla, would you like to do hypnosis with me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Close your eyes. Take in a nice deep breath. And as you release, you can allow your body to relax. With every exhale, your body relaxes more and more. With every exhale, your shoulders relax. With every exhale, your abdomen relaxes. With every exhale, your jaw relaxes. And before you go into hypnosis completely, bring yourself all the way back out now, because we have more class to do. Okay. So now I didn't give you any options. And then what did you do?
I followed your instructions.
Just follow the instructions.
Yeah.
Somebody who's really resistant, and if you're talking to them ahead of time and they're not following your instructions, you don't want to make them you don't want to give them too many options. You want to give them the directions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So now I'm trying to go back to this, and I'm not sure how I got you pinned or how to unpin you. I will be doing that momentarily. Sorry, y'all, for me brainstorming here on my own.
Karen?
Yes?
What do you think about using some of those language cards? I have decks of language cards from different people, and
use them all. And there are many people have decks, typically of 52 cards with a different language pattern on each one. And it's a brilliant way to learn language patterns. You pick one a week or one a day and practice that one and play with it. Okay, that's a great way to do it. Or practice 3 or 4 of them at a time. Or say, today I'm going to use this one and see how well I can make it work. Or you can take these 10 that I provided you and start with that.
Right.
Okay?
Actually, I think these 10 are embedded in this whole mishmash of stuff I got here.
Oh, yes. Well, because, there are only a finite
Right.
number of ways to do it. And so we all look for clever ways of presenting it, but it's all the same stuff. If you look at Mike Mandel's language patterns, if you look at the language patterns that I send out in my monthly mailing, if you look at the
Igor's,
if you look at Jerry, I started with Jamie Smart's cards, his salad cards, and started using it that way. So all of them work. They're all great.
Cool.
A person is able to. When you tell them a person is able to increase their water intake because they choose to. A person is able to drink a 16-ounce bottle of water first thing in the morning. And a person is able to drink another 16-ounce bottle of water before lunch. and a person is able to discover how to drink 2 more 16-ounce bottles of water before 7 p.m. Now, when you tell somebody that a person is able to, it causes the subconscious mind to go in and figure out how they can do it too. Because if somebody can do a thing, and you've just told them a person is able to, if somebody is able to do a thing, well, then you must be able to do it too. So it causes your subconscious mind to go on a search of how I can do this too. Obviously, it's possible because a person can do it. Now, how am I going to do it? And so you're asking the mind, or you're encouraging the subconscious mind to work out its own details. Our job isn't to give details primarily. Our job is to help them come up with their details. So a person is able to make the kinds of changes she wants and cause them to be permanent. A person is able to make any change they want to make and make it permanent. Now, you're giving them a couple of different suggestions, but you're softening it and making it believable and possible because a person is able to do that. One of my favorite ones is sooner or later. Sooner or later, everything happens. Sooner or later, everyone goes into a nice, relaxing trance in my office. I wonder if you're ready to do it sooner, like now, or if you want to listen for a few moments and let the trance develop a little later. I'm still telling them that they're going to go into trance, right? And by the way, trance is another one of those words. Sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. If you got, boy, this is a stereotype, but I'm going to use it for a moment just to make the point, okay? Sometimes very fundamentalist Christians won't like the word trance because that's the work of the devil. So don't use the word trance. Use a relaxing experience with them. I'm not an organized religion kind of person. Spiritual, yes, but organized religion, not so much. But if I've got a fundamentalist Christian in my office and they want to lose weight, you can bet I'm preaching about the temple of God that is their body, and you were created in God's image, and aren't you representing the best image of God? And aren't you representing God as you show this temple of his image to others? In other words, I'm using their belief system and driving home the point according to what they believe and what they can resonate with. All right? Sooner or later, everybody takes control of their smoking. Sooner or later, and I use this with smokers all the time, sooner or later, everyone quits smoking. I'm glad you've decided to do it while you're still alive. I'm glad you've made the decision to do it sooner rather than when it gets you. Sooner or later is one of those wonderful language patterns. If you then, we've already gone over this one with Michael pretty much. If you do this, then this will happen. This will happen. If you set your alarm to get up on time, or if you set the alarm to take a break, when the bell rings, you'll know to stand up and stretch. Whatever their benefits are, whatever their realities are. Try to resist going into trance too quickly, as you could allow yourself to just relax gradually now. Try to resist relaxing completely now. And go ahead and allow yourself to relax deeply. These are the ways that I really like to use try to resist. Try to resist something that is very obvious. Try to resist knowing that pro and Olympic athletes use hypnosis to reach their goals. Try to resist knowing that. You can't, because I just implanted the suggestion that it's true, that pro athletes use hypnotists to reach their goal. Try to resist knowing that daily, all over the world, people just like you use hypnosis for positive change. Try to resist believing you are worth the effort to eat premium foods and maintain your body, your machine. Try to resist that. Well, gosh, why would I resist? I'm worth it. right? Okay, so let's practice. Let's play the language pattern game. Here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to open this up to gallery view. And here's what I want to do. I'll call out your name so that we'll go around the room. I'm going to give you a scenario. We're going to start out with a scenario. I'm going to give you a scenario of a client. You've got their limiting beliefs and you've got their benefits. And I want you to pick any language pattern that you want and plug it in. Plug it in to make it work for that particular client. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room. And when I call your name, you're going to throw out the language pattern you decided to use. I don't care if you make a mistake. I don't care if you do it right or wrong. I don't care if you're the best one in the class or the worst one in the class. We're going to learn something and it's going to be fun. Don't be afraid. Just throw some spaghetti against the wall and we're going to see what sticks. Okay? So let's, you know what? If as an example, I can't imagine this happening, but if as an example, Rich makes a mistake, won't we all learn something wonderful from that? Right?
That's not a suggestion, is it? I hope.
You know why I picked you? Because I think you've got the ego strength to take that and you wouldn't take it personally and go, oh my God, this is going to screw me all up. So, so thank you for letting me play with you. Okay, everybody open up your microphones. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the scenario and then I'm going to start with Rich and we'll go around the room. I don't know how it's showing up. I don't know how the room is showing up on your screen. So I'm just going to call your name out. And when I call it, just use the scenario and use a language pattern with the scenario in it, okay? Any questions about that? Perfect. We're just going to play. We're just going to play. So your first scenario is you've got a client who wants to quit smoking. Mm-hmm. They want to quit smoking because it stinks. It's expensive. It's bad for their health. It's bad for their image. God, maybe they're a hypnotist and they don't want people to see a hypnotist smoking. It's bad for their image. And what are they going to get out of being a non-smoker? They're going to save money. They're going to feel better about themselves. They're going to live longer. They're going to laugh without that smoker's hack. They're going to be able to walk upstairs like they did as a kid without getting out of breath. Okay? You got the scenario? You got the client and the ideas? Okay. Pick any language. Let me give you an example. Okay? So they want to be able to walk the stairs without getting out of breath. I'm wondering if you can imagine the day that you are a non-smoker and you're walking up two flights of stairs. As you notice, you're breathing freely and easily because you're a non-smoker. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it got the ideas across, did it not? Softly and easily. Okay, pick any language pattern you want. Go with that scenario. Rich, you start.
Maybe you'd like to stop smoking today, or maybe you'd like to stop smoking tomorrow, because then you'll be able to have this healthier lifestyle that you require and everybody will look at you in a different way.
Woo! Heidi.
If you quit smoking, then you will discover how easy it is to exercise and how easy it is to go upstairs without labored breathing.
Woohoo! Twyla.
Sooner or later, smoking is going to get you. I'm really glad, that you realize that you want to do it sooner and that you're here. So you're going to be able to walk up the stairs. Your clothes are going to smell great. And you're going to feel wonderful.
Yes. And can the rest of you imagine how that could be used in the intake part of the information? Just in conversation, because you're already giving suggestions and you're already telling them things, even if their eyes are wide open. You're already seeding the suggestion to be a non-smoker. I'm glad you came here because you're going to quit today before you die. You already seeded that suggestion. Well, I don't know how they're going to take it exactly, but you already seeded that suggestion without their eyes closed, without any formal trance. And so there's no resistance because you're just conversating.
Right.
I know that's a Ricky Lake word, but I like to use it anyway. Because the language evolves. Okay, Susie.
Oh, I was in another world. Sorry. Can you imagine the benefits, or excuse me, hang on a second. Let me start. I got to do a reset. Can you imagine, as a non-smoker, the extra money that you'll have to utilize to increase your health, your stamina, your vitality, and the benefits that will ripple out in terms of aspecting every element of your life as you move forward as a non-smoker?
Yes. Can you imagine all the extra money you'll have as a non-smoker? I don't know if you'll use it to buy more Starbucks. I don't know if you'll save it to buy a TV. I don't know what you'll do with it, but imagine the extra money you're going to have in a month, 2 months, 3 months by being a non-smoker. Yes, exactly. Susie, thank you. Pamela. Pamela?
Imagine the experience. Sorry.
Sorry.
Imagine the experiences that you will have as a non-smoker, all the energy and the ease that you will have as you're going through your day, breathing easily and more comfortably.
Cool. Yes. Jerry.
And I know, you probably already know, there are many, many reasons for you to stop smoking. But I'm wondering what reason is the best reason for you to choose to stop smoking now?
Brilliant. Did you get how many layers of suggestions were added in there? Right? Very big layers of suggestions. Now realize, okay, Jerry had the same stuff to work with that everybody else did. He had the client's scenario, he had the list of patterns, and he had the list of words, and he just plugged in the client's stuff into the fill in the blank areas. Right? He listened to what the client had, he filled in their bullet points, and he created a language pattern. Right? And he added something that I love. I know that you probably already know. You can add stuff. It's still the same language pattern. It doesn't have to be the way it's written on the page. This is a foundation. This is a fundamental. This is the lowest common denominator of the language pattern. Does that make sense? So this is 1 plus 1. This is the lowest common denominator, and then we're going to build on top of that. And you can layer it in any way that you want. You can layer it with their limits, you can layer it with their benefits, you can layer it with common knowledge. Okay? And make it easy for yourself. Do it in your style. Nicole.
A person is able to make lots of changes to become smoke-free, and I'm wondering if you realize the easiest one for you to make as a first step.
Woohoo! And you do that in conversation ahead of time. You can ask them for their first step. And I'm wondering if you've already decided your first step. And then let them tell you. And then you have that information to add in as you're doing the formal process later. You add in what their steps are, but you let them make the decisions. Everybody get that? Let's do one more scenario, okay? And pick a different language pattern this time, or pick 16, well, I didn't give you 16, I gave you 10. Pick 3, or pick some words. I don't care what you pick. Or pick one and just drive it home. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but listen now to the scenario of the client, and you'll pick how you want to drive home an important suggestion. So this client, it wants more confidence to speak in public. Okay. So they want to have the confidence so their hands will stop shaking. I won't be so nervous when I stand in front of people. I won't stumble over my words. And what will you get out of having this confidence? I'll feel good about giving speeches. I'll promote my business and make more money. That's what you've collected so far. And it's a short session, so you've got to immediately do the solidifying, okay? So, Susie. Oh, no.
Is that what?
What?
Did you hear that?
Yes, the microphone. It's feedback. It's all good
Right.
feedback.
Right. Right. So my shortcoming last time is I thought we were all going to get an individual scenario, and I didn't take any notes about the other client at all because I thought it was going to go to Rich because I knew you picked him first. So I was waiting on mine, and it was like, I'm trying to remember what the hell she said about that client.
Okay.
So I'm feverishly writing things down. Feedback, right?
Let me just give you some feedback on that. Susie wasn't paying attention. Her idea was it was going to go a different way. And
Right.
yet, when I called on her and her feet were to the fire, she made some shit up. Not a single one of us, until she just revealed it to us, not a single one of us knew that she hadn't been paying attention because she didn't tell us that. I just called on her and she went, oh, damn, where'd I put that piece of paper? Okay, let me throw some, and it still worked. Best news of all, it still worked. Okay, so what we learned about you, Susie, is you don't need a lot of pre-planning. You can be fast on your feet. And when something comes up, you are going to make it work. Boy, is that a useful skill for you to take forward. Right? Okay, so that everybody knows we're all using the same weight loss client, by the way. and I believe that Susie is now prepared to give the suggestions to her weight loss client.
Weight loss. This was confidence in public speaking.
I'm sorry, confidence in public speaking. You're
I have a note.
and even and guess what? That will happen too.
Yeah.
Clients will call you and say, I want more confidence. And you'll talk to them and you'll say, yes, you're a great client for hypnosis. Come on in. You set the time and they come in and they'll sit down in your office and they'll say, well, I really want more confidence in the bedroom because I've discovered that I've had a little ED lately. And so the confidence really needs to be in the bedroom. Now, when you have your wonderful script prepared for you for speaking in public, that ain't going to fly for what it is they really want. Right? And you got to be quick on your feet in order to make that adjustment. You cannot sit there in front of your client and go, that's not what you told me on the phone. We're going to work on public speaking, damn it. And if you want to do erectile dysfunction, you got to come back next time. You don't have that option, right? I mean, you can do that. You can certainly do that. And by the way, there is an effective way that you could do that because what we do is dance. Right? We vamp and we dance. We hear the feedback and we react to it. So let's pretend that you are a script notist. Nothing wrong with script notists. Those are you use scripts for everything. Okay. And the person calls and they say, I want to work on confidence for public speaking. And you pull up the beautiful script for it. And then they sit in your office and say, I really have erectile dysfunction and I need more confidence in the bedroom. You could say, you know, let me see if I don't have the big red book here with me, but you could say, you know, there is a whole book. This is the only book I have handy. I'm not advertising my book. I'm just using this as an example. There is a whole book with the magic spells that we use in hypnosis. And I've gone over it with a fine-tooth comb to discover yours. So today I'm going to use the magic script for confidence. We're going to improve your confidence, and then we're going to set up another session to work specifically on the erectile dysfunction. But here's the best news of all. Sometimes with the brain, there's a generalizing effect. So what we work on here today with confidence might well spill over to everything, and won't that be a wonderful thing to notice? Does that make sense that I just bullshitted my way out of that and allowed myself to use the script anyway? So I'm just saying that as long as you are aware that you're in control and that you get to maneuver things the way you want to. Don't let the feedback throw you. It's just feedback. And if what you did is you prepared a magic, or you found the perfect magic script, you can let your client know that. I got the magic formula for you for confidence building for public speaking. It's in the big book of magic spells or hypnosis techniques or whatever you want to call it, and that's okay. I have had clients tell me that the last hypnotist they saw had a great big book that they opened up, and it had everything in it that could possibly work. And I've got the big red script book in my office, and I say, boy, are you in luck. And I go over to my desk and I pull it out and I say, I have that book too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's all feedback, and you dance with it so that you make it successful for that client. They are not going to throw you because you're in control, you're in charge. Okay, so we don't have an imaginary weight loss client. We have or erectile dysfunction client. Right. We have an imaginary confidence in public speaking client, and Susie's going to start out the process.
Okay, so for this client, I would invite them to imagine having the confidence to speak in public, how easily it would come to them because of their courage and even showing up in my office today. That's a step in confidence in themselves, and building upon that success, they can imagine themselves with steady hands and nerves of steel, or an essence of calmness around them, easily able to manage as they move forward, expanding beyond the limitations of the past, and now being confident in public speaking in every situation in their future.
Wow, she just described to us the entire session. I only asked for one suggestion, but she just described the entire session. And you used that little bit of information that you had, right, on this imaginary client to build an entire session. Did you not?
Yeah.
Because you told us exactly what you would do. And it probably wouldn't go that quickly. In doing that, you would layer all of that, and you would have patter and other stuff that would happen, right?
Right.
I mean, you would induce a trance, and you might deepen the trance, and then you would give them their suggestions.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Thank you very much. Heidi.
Let's see here. I'm wondering if you'll notice the more speeches you give, the better you feel about giving speeches. And I'm wondering if you notice the more speeches you give, the more money you earn.
Good. Very good. Richard.
Right, there we go. You probably already know what it's like to feel confident. And I'm wondering if you can imagine what it would be like for you to be on stage, to speak in front of all those people with a calm hand and feeling happy with yourself. And as you imagine what that's like, just imagine the effect that that will have on your business as you're able to now promote it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. Twyla.
Okay. I'm wondering if you are aware that all the people in the audience came automatically and freely to hear you speak. So the next time you get on a stage, you should remember that, and it should be automatic that you are confident and under full control. Whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Absolutely. Nicole.
I'm wondering if you can imagine what it feels like to experience the confidence that you are seeking. You can put yourself in that place now and bring it forward with you as you continue to grow in your speaking practice.
Woo! See how easy it is to write scripts, to ad-lib scripts? put something together when you listen to what the client has to say? Pamela.
Ah, I need the red book.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. Okay, Pamela, here's what I want you to do. I would like you to use number 5 and number 8. Use those two.
Okay. Karen, I don't have the printout. I just had written them down today when you went through them.
Okay, so tell me 2 that you have written down.
Easily.
Okay.
Ay. And space.
Okay, so I would like you to write these words. Can you imagine? And if you then. If you blank then.
I'm sorry, what was the second one, Karen?
Okay, so what did I tell you? Can you imagine? Did I say that first?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, and the second one is
If
you blank, then blank. And fill in any of that scenario from our confidence. And I'm going to go to Jerry and then we'll come back to you. Fair enough, Pam?
I'm sorry, the connection's just cutting in and out today. So I'm missing everything you're saying about the second one to use. Do you want me to just fly with one?
Yes, take that one and work with it. And plug in the information. I'm going to go to Jerry real quick and then I'll come back to you, okay? I can't tell if you heard that or not. I'll be back to you in a moment, Pam. Plug it in with that one and we'll come back to you. Okay, Jerry, you go.
Okay, Karen, I'm sure that you know some people who are so confident in public speaking, they can get in front of a big room of people and just talk. And their hands are calm and their eyes are calm. And you might even wonder, what is it that they're actually doing that makes them feel so at ease? And you know these people make lots of money and are very successful because they can just be natural and at ease in front of large groups of people. That's all.
Good. Now, my question for you as your client in that one, okay, I'm pushing you a little bit on Jerry, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with that. That was great. I'm just going to push you a little bit and say, if I am a resistant client and I open my eyes and say, that's great, I can see how everybody else can do it, but how am I going to do it?
Of course, Karen, but you could imagine that you could do it so easily.
I can't even imagine myself doing it. I don't know.
You can't imagine.
My hands shake. My experience is my hands shake.
Mm-hmm. And your experience is that your hands shake.
Because I'm nervous, because I'm scared shitless.
Mm-hmm. Let me just see.
Okay, all I'm pushing you there for, Jerry, and we don't have
No, that's good.
All I'm pushing you for there is, yes, your assumption, your frame of this, your assumption is that the client can imagine by watching a model of somebody else. Okay, they can watch Tony Robbins be confident and not shake, and you're assuming that they will be able to borrow that and use it for themselves. But internally, they don't have any idea how to do it. Their experience is, when I get up in front of those people, my hands shake. So yes, I can imagine other people not shaking. But how am I going to make that happen for myself?
And Karen, I'm wondering if you can even remember a time in the past when you felt confident. There might have been a time that you just think about when you learned to tie your shoes, and they were very difficult to tie at first, But now you just don't even think about it. It's just, you're just so confident. It's so easy. And you had to learn the alphabet at some point, the A's and the B's and the C's and the D's. And now you have confidence that you know how to do so many things. And because you have confidence and you have learned many things before, I'm wondering how many things you can now learn to do with ease and comfort
You
and
just got
confidence.
me. I'm wondering how many things I can now learn to do. So now I'm with you. Now I'm really with you. And if I'm a person who needs to be told how to do it, you might have to add something in there for me. Because up to this point, again, we're just hammering home this point. I've resisted on purpose so that you would dance with me, okay?
Mhm.
What I want you to understand by giving you all this resistance is that I can't come up with my own answers. If I could have come up with my own answers, I wouldn't have needed to come here. So not everybody's like this, okay? But some people are, I can't figure it out. I don't know. It's just not computing. So you might have to throw something in that's a direct suggestion for them to do something. So as you imagine your hands being calm, you can also notice your breathing now and just take a nice deep breath and focus on your breathing. And as you breathe into a 4 count, hold for a 4 count, exhale for a 4 count, wait for a 4 count. As you do that a couple of times, you can now look back and notice that you are completely calm.
Right. That's a good idea.
Imagine as you are about to take the stage that you calm yourself with that box breathing. And you do 4 rounds of box breathing so that you've centered yourself and you take the stage with your hands relaxed and calm because your body is calm, because you have taken the action to calm yourself. So in other words, again, that may have not been a perfect thing to do, but all I threw in there when I kept getting resistance was a direct suggestion on something for them to do.
Right. Oh, that's great. I like that.
Moving their attention over here so that they can do something else. So now you're giving them an action step. Oh, okay, if I calm myself, now what's happening with your hands? They're relaxed. Ah, now we're on to something.
So would the yes set have been good before it as well then? So then the compliance would have been easier for Jerry to deliver it if there was a yes set before?
Yes. Yes. And so what wasn't discovered at this point, and Jerry, you went down a beautiful visualization and imaginary path, okay? And the client may, 80% of the time, it's probably going to work perfectly just like that. I'm talking about that other 20% where the client opens their eyes and says, yeah, that was really fun. I really felt relaxed. I really went deep, but I don't know how I'm going to keep my hands from shaking. And if that happens, you say, that's important information. And next time, and I say next time, I mean, if you've got all day to spend with them, you can do it now. But if you're at the end of your session, and next time we will work specifically on how you take control of your responses. And then when they come back the next time, you teach them some ways to do that. You teach them some ways to use self-hypnosis to talk to themselves in a different way.
And so Karen, I was just thinking, so, you did the box breathing, that would be one way of doing it. But then they have all these kind of swish patterns where they could feel the nervousness and put it outside and feel it spinning one way and spin it another way and bring it back in. But give them something to do, I think.
Yes, all I used was box breathing. I mean, there are a gazillion other things that you could use. Okay, that's just the first thing that came to me. But the point was, they were not successful, or I was being obstinate and not being successful at imagining it or finding the key. I needed something for me. And so all you have to do is give me something for me. It can be swish pattern, it can be breathing, it can be stand on one foot and bounce up and down 3 times. It doesn't matter what you choose. It's just an action step for them to take so they take control. And then we're going to maneuver them and teach them how to change their thinking. Because remember, it's just a construct. It is just something they made up. The fear of public speaking is just something they made up. There is no inherent fear of public speaking in humans. So it's just something they constructed. So we need to help them deconstruct it.
Mm-hmm.
And as we work with them for deconstructing it, we will find new ways to make them relax with it. Okay?
Cool.
I'm gonna give you some questions to ask in a minute where it's gonna make that all much simpler. So did I get around to everybody? Oh, Pamela, she disappeared. Maybe her connection is faulty. We'll come back to her. Oh no, there she is. I'm sorry. You were off the screen. So you get to do yours now.
Oh, okay. I went off screen just because sometimes the connection gets better again for a while. So if I disappear, I'm still here.
Got it. Got it. Cool.
All right. I wonder how you will find the way to become more comfortable with public speaking. You may find that grounding yourself beforehand is beneficial. Whether that comes through some deep breathing, imagining that you are grounded to Mother Earth, imagining that you are talking in front of just a few people that you know very well. And I wonder if that type of creating that scenario will allow you to be more comfortable and it for public speaking to become more natural to you. Okay, that's it.
Pamela, oh my God, you just ad-libbed the whole thing. You had your eyes closed. You weren't reading anything, and you just did that, and I was able to go along with it completely. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It doesn't even have to make sense.
Good.
Because the client's doing the work in their own head anyway.
Yeah.
They are either saying, yes, I can do that, or no, I can't do that, or moving along, right?
Mm.
Yes, you did that beautifully. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you are back on the... I was afraid that we'd lost you because you mentioned the bad connection, so I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really time for us to take a break, but before we do, I want to cut through some things very, very quickly. I gave you a handout on the meta pattern of change. I'm going to allow you to really peruse that handout on your own, but I'm going to tell you the 4 steps to change work, because that's what we're moving into. You already know how to hypnotize somebody. Now it's how do we help somebody make change? The 4-step meta pattern of change, okay, the 4 steps that create change: associate into a problem, dissociate from the problem, associate into a solution, and then take that solution and copy and paste it onto the trigger that caused the problem. So let's stay with that public speaking person for a moment. And the public person with the fear of public speaking says, oh my God, my hands shake, my breathing. And so then I'm going to ask them, and how do you know for your hands to start shaking? How do you know that your hands should start shaking? So imagine being there in that scenario, and how do you know to start being afraid? And you want to hear them say what it is. Oh, I'm just fine until they call my name. And when they call my name, that's when I start to get scared. Well, that's their trigger. So we want to paste their solution to that trigger point, whatever it is for them. I had a flying client, a fear of flying client, who was afraid to see airplanes in the sky. Any mention of airplanes triggered his fear. So that's a pretty broad view, right? But most people have a really tiny, small trigger point. As soon as this happens, I react this way. I do this. So we want to know what their trigger is. We want to associate them into it just long enough, into the problem just long enough to find out what the trigger point is. Then we want to break that state, because it's very difficult to come up with a solution when you're in the problem state trance. Okay, so we want to break that state, and we can break that state by asking them, what would you like to feel instead? Or we can break that state by saying, what was the first car you ever owned? What color was it? Well, now they're not thinking about the problem state anymore because they had to go over here and access that information that you wanted. So that broke the state. We can break the state in a variety of ways. It's just stopping that thinking pattern and moving on to another pattern. So first we want to know the problem. Then we want to break out of the problem, dissociate from the problem state, associate into a solution state. So we might say, is there anything else? Jerry was doing this a moment ago. Is there anything else that you have done that you can do confidently? And as they start talking about that, we can look for what confidence does for them. Oh, I'm calm and I breathe easily and I stand up straight and there's a smile on my face. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what happens when they call your name and you stand up straight and you put a smile on your face and you take a nice deep breath and you march forward. So you're borrowing the benefits of what gave them confidence before and you're pasting it on this, and then you're practicing to see how it works. Does that make sense? So the 4-step change pattern is find out what the problem is, associate into the problem, dissociate from that state, discover what solutions they already have, and then apply those solutions to the trigger of that problem. I believe Michael already talked last week about, well, I went down 2 different roads and now I don't know what point I was going to make. I'll come back to that. It'll come back to me in a moment. I've got too many things that I want to share with you right now, and I'm trying to stick in too much stuff really quickly. I want to share with you, in the next 10 minutes, I want to share with you a swish technique or a parts technique, a timeline technique, and a way to recycle assets, which is what Jerry was talking about. So let's talk about let's do the animal swish together for a moment. Does everybody have something that they would like to have more of, an attribute they would like to have more of? Confidence, cunning, the ability to get stuff done. Does everybody have, and it doesn't have to be a positive attribute, does everybody have an attribute that they want more of, that they would like to have something more of? Okay? That's all. You don't have to tell anybody what it is. Think of an animal that has that attribute. So as an example, I want to be a real, I want to be able to screw everybody. A weasel would be a great model for that. I didn't say it had to be positive. Now, if you want to use negative stuff, go ahead. But if you want to use positive stuff, this is your imagination. Do with it what you want. So what is the attribute that you want more of? And what is the animal that might represent that attribute? I want to be able to remember stuff. Maybe you'll come up with an elephant because they never forget. I don't care. It's your metaphor. Does everybody have an attribute and an animal? Good. Okay. Put your hands out like this. I don't need to see them. Make them comfortable for you. I'm just going to let you see my hands. Okay. In one of your hands, I want you to put that animal that has all of that quality that you want. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed. It doesn't matter. But put that animal with all of the qualities that you want to have and really look at that animal. Discover with that animal what it is. How do you know that they have that? Just by looking at them, by what they do. How do you know they have that? What do they do that displays that attribute? How do they stand? What is their desire? What is their motivator? Now, on the other hand, place you on that other hand and begin to notice all of your God-given qualities, all of the wonderful things that you bring into the world, all of your talents, all of your abilities. Maybe you're smart, maybe you're witty, maybe you're flexible. see yourself there and notice all of your wonderful God-given talents that you bring into this world. And really bring those up, really notice them. All of the good qualities that you bring to what you do and bring to your life. Now, in just a moment, not just yet, I'll ask you to do something very interesting. But before we do that, if there was a word, just one word, that described you having exactly what you want to have in this respect, what word would you give that? Maybe it would be yay, or maybe it would be success. Maybe it would be confidence. Whatever. Come up with a word that would describe, one word that would describe what that is that you want, that you can have, that is yours. And now, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to bring your two hands together. Bring that animal with all of its qualities and you with all of your qualities together and blend them together, mash them together so that they all meld together into one continuous quality. And after we mash them together, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And as I do, I will want you to open your hands to the sky as you yell out your word. Blending them together, opening your hands to the sky and yell out your word. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Blend together and yell your word out to the world. Yes, yes, yes. Let's do that one more time and let's do it together. Hold your hands out, see your animal, see you, and 1, 2, 3. Blend it all together and yes, you've got it. And one more time. Blend it all together and yes, send it to the universe and take it in as you blend it together. Take a nice deep breath and just enjoy. Twyla, open your mic if you will.
Yep.
I have no idea what you were doing, but there was a nice big smile on your face. Tell me what happened there.
I seen a leopard because they're focused, they're fast, they know what they want, there's no doubt. So that was my animal, and then my word was unstoppable.
And as you mashed them together, could you imagine yourself being unstoppable?
Yes.
So we were borrowing benefits, right, and applying them to you.
Right.
Okay. Did anybody have trouble with that? Thank you, Twyla, very much. Did anybody have trouble with that? Did everybody come up with something that it did for them? Okay, let's move back for a moment. That was a simple parts work process with dissociation, and we adapted it to something else, okay? So often when we're working with parts, I have this thing that wants this, and I have this, a part of me wants to do this, and a part of me wants to do that, okay? So we were working with parts. A part of you wants that attribute. This is the way that I adapted it for this particular process, okay? A part of you wants that attribute. Well, so we borrowed some benefits. We borrowed some benefits from something else. So we got in touch with what you want. We got in touch with the problem. I need more confidence. I need more focus, okay? And then dissociating by putting an animal out here. Let's put an animal out here that's got all of those benefits. Well, you're not an animal. That's outside of you. You know, I could have put that part of you over here. I could have put anything over here, but we dissociated by making it an animal. And then you looked at an animal that had all those qualities, and as you noticed that animal, you were noticing, oh my, it really looks at what it wants. Oh, it's ready to pounce. Oh, it's very calm. And whatever you are making up, okay, whatever that animal has that you want, and then your subconscious mind is already applying that to you. How am I going to do this? How am I going to make that happen for myself? I don't know, Twyla, exactly how it happened for you. And I don't know exactly what that leopard did. But whatever that leopard did, you went, oh, if I do more of that, oh, if I steel myself, oh, if I calm myself right before I do it, whatever it was, you worked out your own solutions, right? And so we took the problem, we dissociated by making it something else. We looked at the benefits, we looked at the solutions. The animal gave us the solutions. And we just did some fancy patter. I want to mush them together. And so that incorporated that into you without me telling you, you have to incorporate that into you. We came up with a word because it gave you something else to do. And then we blended them together. And it motivated you to add those attributes to that you want. Does that make sense? So that's just a parts work process that was adapted in this way. You can use that kind of parts process with anything. Let's look at this part, and let's look at this part, and let's let them negotiate a settlement, or bring things together, or take what we don't have and put it here where we need it the most. That's one way of doing that. Another way of doing that is timeline work. So look at, I want you to do this, and then I want you to look at everybody else as they're doing this too. If you have it in gallery view. So we're going to talk a little bit about timeline. I want you to imagine that you have a line of time running through you, from the beginning of time for you to the end of time for you. Imagine that timeline running right through you, and point to your past. Point to your past. Now open your eyes and look where everybody's pointing. Everybody's got a different place that they're pointing. Susie's pointing off to the left. Rich is pointing back in the back. Nicole is pointing off to the right, right? So everybody's timeline is different. You don't get to impose your timeline on anybody else. It's kind of interesting that Americans tend to point front or back, future and past. Americans also tend to point left to right. Past is to the left, future is to the right, because of day planners and calendars and books. Israelis tend to do that opposite, because they read right to left. So what's behind them is over there, and what's ahead is in. Asians tend to point up and down. The future is up and the past is down. And then you've got all variety, and those are tendencies, they're not absolutes, and you have all varieties of people in between. My future is here and my past is over there. Okay, you've got everything right out in front of you. Your whole life is right out there in front of you. Some people will have everything back here. I can't ever get anything done. Well, point to your future. It's back here. Well, because you can't see it. What happens if we bring that out here so that you can see it? So that's playing with moving modalities so that something is, but the reason I bring this up is because don't impose your timeline on somebody else, or assume that your timeline is theirs. Ask for theirs. Where's your future? Where's your past? And then go with whatever theirs is. And if you forget to ask ahead of time, keep your language vague. Don't say throw it back behind you, because their past might not be there. Throw it into your past, right? Move it to your past. So timeline is one way to do that. Now with timeline, it's an interesting thing. Once you establish the timeline, you can now ask your client to close their eyes and invite them to do a number of things. You can invite them to dissociate by floating up out of the chair and seeing themselves sitting down there on the chair, and then floating over their timeline and looking down for specific events. And they're looking down for something, and they're dissociated because they're not into it. They are describing it to you. Okay? If you want to associate them into it for some reason, you can say float down into that scene and be in it, and tell me what you're experiencing in it now. And then if you want them, if they start experiencing too much, you don't want to be able to, you don't want to handle this right now, you can say float back up out of it. With the timeline, I like floating above the timeline with my client, because it's a dissociated and I can associate them anytime I want to. And I like it because I installed an emotional drain. If we need learnings, but we don't need the emotion, I say, if you'll look right down underneath there, at the bottom of it is an emotional drain. That drain is open. Just go ahead and drain all of the emotion right out of it. Everything else stays, but the emotion is completely drained out of it. Now take all of the learnings that you got from that and bring that up with you. Or release all of the emotion from it and then let them associate back down into it. It doesn't matter. There are no rules. It's just the imagination. We get to play with it any way that we want to. Okay? And then you bring everything you want up, and then you can move them over to their future and apply all of that stuff, have them associate into a future event where they might need that, and have them associate and use those new assets there. So timeline is a nice way of associating or dissociating, or you can have them walk through their timeline and be in it, associated into it, and stop at a place where they need help. You can do it that way. You can lift them up out of it. You can put them aside. You can have them walk down their timeline next to it, right? So you can use any way that you want to play with that kind. It's just a metaphor. It's just a metaphor. Recycling assets is what Jerry was doing earlier when we look back and find out where you have a thing. Where do you have this confidence already? What made you confident in that scenario? Let's find success. Where have you had success? Can everybody use a little bit more confidence? Is anybody overly freaking confident here? I mean, if you are, then sit out this exercise. But if you could use a little more confidence, do this one with me. Okay, so really quick, close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath, make yourself comfortable. And I'd like you to, in your imagination, find a time in your life when you were really confident about something. Gosh, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was standing up in 4th grade reciting a poem, or maybe it was as you walked across the stage at high school graduation, or I don't know. Find a time in your life when you were really sure that you knew something. You've got this. I can do it. And as you notice that, either look at it and observe it, or step into it, whichever makes you feel better. That confidence, that time when you're really absolutely sure. Notice the look on your face. Notice your breathing. Notice your posture, the way you're standing or sitting. What are you thinking? What are those thoughts going through your mind as you experience that confidence? And as you hold that posture and that look on your face and those thoughts, can you imagine how these attributes will benefit you in the future? So take that posture, take those thoughts, take that breathing and that look on your face, and go all the way into your future when you can use that confidence. You could really use that in a scenario. Go into your future, imagine yourself there. Stand the way you were standing. Breathe the way you were breathing. Think those thoughts that you were thinking. Have that look on your face. And use that confidence in that scenario in your future now. That's right. And when you practice that, come all the way back to the present time and just open your eyes in your own time and in your own space. Okay, this is a little unfair because, Jerry, I want you to open your microphone. And it appeared to me that you were really doing that. You were really applying that confidence someplace in the future. The look on your face implied that. Is that true?
Yes, and I kind of did space out a little bit as well.
Go on. Tell me about that.
I just got into other scenarios in my life, and if I only would have done this, and if I only would have done that, and I went through a whole process of of things that, oh, I am confident, but I'm not confident. I went through a whole process of my life's what confidence means to me in some ways.
And what did you work out?
What did I work out? That I'm still a little screwed up in that one.
Two things I want to point out about that. Okay, two things I want to point out about that. It tends to be a little risky. It's hard to do it any other way with a group, but it tends to be a little risky when you're doing these kinds of exploration things without any feedback, without any conversation with your client, okay? Because it's hard to coach them, it's hard to guide them if you don't know what they're thinking. Now, if I'd been working one-on-one with Jerry and I said, okay, tell me about that confidence. And if he would have said, well, I don't know, now I'm going to another place where, yeah, I was confident, but I'm going to have to find a different route to get there. Does that make sense? With that feedback, it makes it easy to adjust on the fly. Because we could have done a whole host of work any place along the way if I'd have known that's what he was doing. Even though I didn't know what he was doing in his head, he was still doing some stuff over there and actually still worked out some stuff because he started looking for, where have I had confidence? What did I have there? What did I have there? What did I have there? And it's not all worked out yet. It was a very short process, but a talkback scenario would have been a better scenario for that kind of thing. Make sense? Better than using a script or better than just doing guided visualization. Make sense?
Right. Absolutely.
Anybody else have an experience with that you'd want to share? Rich, go ahead.
My experience is it was like a confidence one, was from a fight that I'd had many moons ago when I used to fight. And although I wasn't actually, I think I needed a little bit longer to probably get into it, but I kind of remembered that feeling and just like my body posture and everything like that. And then the future event was a show that I've got to go to. I think it's the 4th of May, which is a big show as well. So I'm going to be in the presence of helping someone at a big show. So I sort of took that confidence with me to that. So it felt good. I think I'd probably like a little bit longer just absorbing myself into the whole, it was gradually, the picture was coming together and then it was kind of sort of went forward. So I probably need a little bit longer just to kind of immerse myself in that experience.
And when you're really working with a client one-on-one, it doesn't usually go this fast.
Yeah.
And we do calibrate better. I couldn't calibrate with everybody here, right? But if I'd been working with Rich, as an example, and I hadn't had a talkback system set up, and I'd have just been watching him, I might have said something like, when you are fully, when you are filled with that experience, give me a nod of the head so that I know. And then we would have moved on, right? I could have asked for feedback that way. Some people set up ideomotor signals. Give me the yes response so that I know. Any questions on that? Okay, so those are 3 kind of peeks at techniques that you could use. We're going to take a quick break, 10 minutes max, and when we come back, we're going to do an outcome specification exercise, and then you're going to get to practice it. And then you'll get to choose a technique that you want to use to move on from there. Got it? I'm going to run real quick, but I'll be right back. And so if there are questions, we can keep the mics open and talk about it. But I'm going to stop the recording, and somebody is going to be helping me remember to turn the recording back on when we get back. Okay. Enjoy your break. We'll see you in 10 minutes. I just hit record. And I feel so accomplished because I did it all by myself. But I know you had my back. Yes, thank you very much. Very much. Okay. So now we are going to discover what I personally think is the most important element of what we do, which is information gathering. Techniques, all techniques are good. No technique works every time, so don't be married to your technique. Be married to the information that you gather as you're working with your client. And the best information gathering technique I have ever discovered is the outcome specification exercise used in NLP. And I use a variation of this with every single client I see. It becomes more conversational as we go, but it just works. The outcome specification technique is my information gathering tool, but it is also in and of itself an intervention. Sometimes just going through the outcome specification technique is all that is necessary to make a change. Now, my client might make the change in moments, but I don't say, "You've done it, good, we're out of here." I would like to be able to charge by the change or charge by the result, but that's not really the way it works. So then I go on to solidify it with the formal hypnosis or do more ego strengthening or whatever happens to be necessary. But the first thing I want to do here is I really kind of wanted to demonstrate the outcome specification technique and then have you practice it. It's more important to me today for you to have the practice than it is for me to actually demonstrate with one person and cut out the practice. So I think it's going to be easier if I practice real quick. So who has some very easy technique or a very easy change that they would like to make? Some very easy thing that they would like to do? Rich, okay.
Yeah, why not?
Yes, good. Okay. So I'm going to pin you, Rich, because we want to be looking at you. And this is just a wide awake process. So just play with me here. What change do you want to make today, Rich?
I want to have even more confidence. As I was saying to you before, I've got a show that I'm going to. It's a very big show, and the fighter that I'm working with, he's the main fight. So it'd be nice to go there with even more confidence. I've done shows before, so I'm all right with that, and I've worked with him before.
Good.
And
so
we've got. Yeah.
Excuse me for interrupting, but as you have that more confidence, what specifically will that do for you?
What I currently do before I go into the show is I just give myself 10, 15 minutes and I just kind of visualize in my own mind the scenario of everything I'm doing, just to kind of be more sure that the situation, or not the situation, but the way it's all going to unfold and being comfortable in that environment.
Good. That's what you currently do. What do you want to do to have even more confidence? Or when you have even more confidence in that, what will that do for you?
It will be able to go to that event without even thinking that I have to do that before I go in. So I feel like I have to sort of prepare myself before I go in at the moment. So I'd like to just go there and just get on with it.
So if I heard you right, you would like to just know that you have it.
Yeah, I know I've experienced it before, because that one fight I had,
Good.
I knew I was going to win. Like, I just knew, even though I can't see the future, I just believed in myself that much that all I needed to do was to turn up.
I'm curious, Rich, how will you know when you have it? Or if it makes it easier for you to determine, how did you know you had it that one time before?
Well, I was thinking about this during the break. It was like, how did I know? And normally it's a feeling. I do think on that occasion, it was the self-talk that I had. It was the confirmation of like, well, I'd previously lost the fight, so I kept reassuring myself, I've got to win this fight. I will win this fight. It just has. There wasn't like an option to lose. I had to win in my mind, so I just kept reminding myself that I had to win. There was an urgency.
Just for a moment, just briefly. Yeah. We're not going to do hypnosis or anything like that, but just for a moment, just close your eyes for a second. And be there in like you were doing all the right self-talk and you had the confirmation and there was no option. Be there where there was no option but to win. That's right, just connect with it. And tell me what you noticed.
think I was drowning out any kind of negative voice, but I kept repeating like a phrase, just almost like on rewind, like not on rewind, but on constant play. It was like a cycle. I just kept saying almost like affirmations, just kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it as I walked down.
And what is the affirmation that you're giving yourself?
For the fight, it was I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm cleverer.
Excellent.
Stronger, faster, cleverer. Yeah.
Excellent. And how did that make you feel?
It made me believe in myself more.
Good. And when did you start that affirmation, that self-talk? Before that fight then, when did you start that self-talk?
I always used to start that self-talk on the walkout, but the confidence that I had for the fight, I was experiencing it on the coach journey down to the show. And I can't think why.
Good. Excellent. Come on back, all the way back to the room. Perfect. Excellent. When, where, and with whom do you want this confidence just like that in your future?
I want it when at the moment I turn up at the show, at the venue.
Good.
I want it the moment I'm walking in there, seeing the people that I know and recognise, and even people I don't recognise, just having that energy.
Good. Good. How will this affect other aspects in your life when you have that additional confidence, when you just have it?
I believe that with that great energy, that people will also kind of feel the energy from me as well, and it will give them more inclination to communicate with me as potential clients, maybe.
Good. And what stops you from having that already?
That's another thing. The first thing that popped up was lack of self-belief. That was the first thing that popped up, so I'm just going to go from that.
Good. Okay.
It was lack of self-belief in me doing what I'm doing, even though the client that I've worked with for a long period of time, we have such great rapport, and he goes into hypnosis so easy, and the results we get are very good. I don't know why I'd have lack of self-belief in that situation.
So what resources do you already have to enhance your self-belief? What do you already know how to do?
Well, I know I'm getting good results from the clients I work with because I've got some very honest testimonials from the clients that I work with, and they wouldn't say the things they're saying if they wasn't getting the results that they're getting.
Right.
Because they're paying me money at the end of the day, and they keep coming back. So why would someone keep paying me?
Right. Right. Well, why would they?
I don't know, because I can't afford to keep paying it if they're not getting what they want.
Yeah, if they weren't getting what they wanted, if you weren't successful, what they wanted, if you weren't successful, they wouldn't keep paying you money, right?
Yeah.
Do you need any additional resources to get that outcome you want?
So far it's popping up is self-belief, confidence. I feel like, in not an arrogant way, but me just being me sort of thing, just being friendly and just chatting to people as I normally do sort of thing. Just me being me.
So what stops you from being you?
I don't know. And if I did know, it would be if I did know. I don't know if it's like, I'm just going to keep doing things, because I often think that when my unconscious mind just keeps bringing things up, I've got to grab it as it says it. I don't know if it's me doing the transition from not being a hypnotist to being the hypnotist, like that identity maybe. I'm not sure. but to be actually being that hypnotist.
So
And I don't know when I'll know that I am that hypnotist. That's the weird thing. I don't think I'll ever be it.
Let's chunk it a little bit. What is the first step to knowing that you've got it? What is the first easiest step?
Going in there with that just calmness and confidence and self-belief.
And how do you bring about calmness for yourself?
I've been my breathing and just my body feeling relaxed. Almost like it's an event that I'm going to have fun at, which I will.
Is there a difference in your events when you're having fun or when you're pressured? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I'd say that there would be a difference between being pressured and having fun. I often make the mistake when I'm working with clients is getting too fixed on their result, which is out of my control, which kind of goes against my own medicine that I kind of give out to the clients I work with, is if something's in your control or out of your control, to only focus on what is in your control. And that's a situation that is out of my control. All that's in my control is to get the fighter in the best place that they can be.
And as you go into the next bout or the next round or the next event where you're going to need this extra confidence, how is it that you can allow them to create their own result and realize that you've done everything you can to allow them to have the best result possible for them?
I know. I believe I'll know when I see them, and by just the way they are, by the way they talk, and by the way I'm listening to the things that they say.
That's what
I'll know if
them. That's what you notice in them. I want to know what you notice in you.
Well, I notice in me if I know I've done everything.
How will you know when you arrive at that event that you have given them all the wisdom that you can give them up to this point, and then you will watch the result and adjust accordingly? How will you know that?
I don't know yet.
As you're doing what it is you do successfully, you recognize that everything is feedback, do you not?
Yeah.
And when you get a certain kind of feedback from one of your clients, do you adjust what you're doing to match or fit what needs to be done next?
Yeah. I know I've got the resources to do what I need to do. I know with the client, especially that I'm working with, I'm very comfortable with that client. In fact, he goes into hypnosis by just literally looking. He can't look into my eyes for more than 10 seconds without going into a trance. So I know that everything's okay. I just feel there's that bit of doubt there somewhere. I don't know why.
So hypothetically, if that client is coming to you for something other than boxing or fighting, right? If they were coming to you for, let's just go out on a limb and say smoking cessation.
Yeah.
Okay. And you gave them a wonderful technique and all of the best suggestions and tested it and they said, yes, I'm good. Would you feel obligated then, Rich, to follow them around and keep the cigarettes out of their mouth?
No.
Who would be responsible for actually taking the action that you instructed them to take?
The client.
Who would create success? Would you create success or would they create the success?
They create the success with what I've shown them.
All right. So you've given them the best possible scenarios, but they have to be the one to create the success. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is it your responsibility that they create that success? Is it your responsibility to do it for them?
No.
And so if you take that responsibility to do it for them, how are you going to fight that fight for them?
I can't know.
If you give them the best techniques in the world, but they don't practice, how are you going to win that fight for them?
It's out of my control.
The result really is out of your control, is it not?
Yeah.
But what is in your control? What is in your control?
To deliver what I know I can deliver.
Which is what?
The way that I put them into hypnosis, and I put them through the process of the visualization for the fight, and the way that they'll perform the best with the resources that they've got inside them already.
And I'm curious about this one client that you have that he can't even look into your eyes without dropping down into hypnosis. I'm curious about how great it will make him feel, how strong it will make him feel, how in control it will make him feel when you just show up. And he knows you're there. And he's confident that he's had all the greatest techniques and he's had all the practice and he's done everything he can. I wonder how he'll feel at that point.
Yeah, I know he'll feed off my confidence, and I know he'll be more confident with me there.
The one thing that you can give him at that stage of the game, the one thing you can give him is your confidence in yourself. That's the only remaining thing left for that fight, is for you to show up confident so that he can go on and do what he needs to do.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
What's your first step to taking that confidence with you?
What I would do with a client is to, well, there's a few things, but one of the things would just be to imagine myself in that environment, delivering everything in the most natural way that I always do with him. Not even preparing what I'll do, just going with the flow of it. I have a kind of protocol that I'll use with the visualization, and there's other things that I will be doing as well at the venue. I'll just deliver as I do it, and he'll never know if it's how it should be anyway. He always gets the results. So
he always gets the results, does he not? All you have to do is show up and be you, and he gets the result, does he not?
Yeah.
With this client, all you have to do is show up and be you as naturally as you can, and he gets the result he wants. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I wonder what happens when you approach the event in the exact same way that you approach working with the client. You show up. You are naturally you. You be you, and he feeds off your confidence. And that helps his result.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you?
No, I know that it will work that way.
So what are you going to do first? Before that event, what are you going to do?
Prepare myself for it in a way that I'll just kind of envision the process, me going through the process, doing the process, and being the way that I want to be.
And when will you start that?
Probably when I finish this class. If not, I've already started.
And then on the way to the event, what will you be saying to yourself?
I'm a great hypnotist. I get results. Just have fun. Get the results.
Close your eyes for just
I'll probably yeah, go on.
Close your eyes for a moment. Take a nice deep breath. And since our time is running really short, let's not take a lot of time. Just as quickly as possible, Rich, go into the level of hypnosis you need for right now. Allow yourself to imagine You with more confidence, you with the level of confidence that you need, you with a level of confidence that you have experienced, that you have had of having no option but success. You just know success is yours. And you know that all you really have to do is just be you. Just show up and be you. It's natural. Because naturally, as you are, you connect. You have a great connection and a great inclination to communicate and have fun, because you do. You have fun with the people at the event. And the more they see you being you, confidently expressing yourself, confidently helping other fighters, the more they will flock to you to find out what you have, what you do, and you know the truth. It's all about your self-talk and what you're saying to yourself, and you know the truth. You produce good results. You get great results from your clients. You know that you're getting results because they couldn't afford to keep coming and seeing you and giving you money that they don't have unless they were getting results. You know that you're producing results. You know because your clients are letting you know, giving you great testimonials. And all you have to do is believe, because now you know the truth. Being rich is what will make you rich. That's right. All you have to do is be you. That's all you have to do. And you've been you longer than anybody else, have you not? You know how to be you. You are an expert at being you. You can be calm as you begin to believe now that all you have to do is relax into being you. Because even if you don't know exactly what it is that you've got something, Rich, that allows them to feed off of your confidence. You know how to relax your breathing. You know how to calm yourself. You know how to act as if you are the most confident person at the event. And you know how to have fun to get the result. Imagine now delivering that naturally, showing up as you've talked to yourself about the results, about being you, about getting rich by being rich. Nobody else has that, but you do. And you do what's right for you and your clients to have fun and naturally go with the flow. You can now throw your hands up and just flow with the river of life. As you go with the flow, knowing that you are the best you that you can be. And Rich, that's all that's really asked of you, is to be the best you that you can be, and miraculously, results are delivered. As you begin to believe that now more and more, and the more you believe, the stronger it becomes, and the stronger it becomes, the more you believe. As you believe that more and more, build that up until you are convinced that all you have to do is show up and be you, and you don't even have to know how it works. It just works. Be rich to get rich, because it feels so good. Take all the time you need to process that, and when you've got the ability to bring that confidence back with you and increase it exponentially the more you practice, open your eyes and rejoin the class. Any difference, any change?
I feel something, yeah. More certainty.
More certainty. Isn't that interesting? What happened?
It kept drifting off into different little bits. And obviously with the language you was using, the calmness, it was just reminding me of the resources and times how I've been like I've been. So it was almost like kind of quick. My experience was sort of a resource, grabbing it into the experience and being that way, then it's just almost kind of grabbing and moving forward. And then the play of your words kind of made me smile as well. Rich being rich, or what something like that. Yeah, you can be rich by being rich, which is very ambiguous. Which I liked. Yeah.
and it just came up. I just pulled that out of thin air because of what you told me, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't have made any of that stuff up on my own, right? So, so here's the point. I gave you a list of questions called the outcome specification question. I do that kind of thing with every client that I'm working with, although it's very conversational, but I actually went down the list of these questions one by one by one, and each one of them got the response I wanted. I didn't have to make up anything. I didn't have to come up with any suggestions. I didn't have to have any magic wizardry. I didn't have to have anything. I let Rich tell me what we needed to do to help Rich get what he wanted. He said he wants more confidence. Okay, that was associating into the problem. What do you want? We associated into it. What specifically will that do for you? We got some benefits for him. It's going to make him go out and just do it. How will you know you have it? Well, it's a feeling that I get. And how do you do it? Well, it's my self-talk. He was giving me all of the things that we needed to work with or work on there. Where do you want it? I want it the moment I show up. So that lets us know that as we're practicing this in the future, had I spent a little bit more time with him, I would have practiced more about prepping to go to that event. So he's starting in the morning and he's doing the self-talk, and I've got all these great clients and they get all this great result, and we might have done a little bit more because he told me that was what really helped him on that day of the bout. What stops you from having it? A lack of self-belief. So that lets me know that we've got to work on ego strengthening with him. We've got to bring up his own self-belief in because that's what's stopping him. The more he believes in himself, the more unstoppable he will be. What resources do you already have? I get good results from my clients, great testimonials. They wouldn't keep coming back if they weren't getting results. So that proves to me that I'm doing something right. So that would be the self-talk, convincing himself that that's happening for himself. Do you need additional resources? That's where we discovered, well, I need to know that all I have to do is be me. When I am me, it works the best. He told me that. I've got it circled, me being me. That's why when I did that mini hypno process, that was what we were driving home. Because when he is him, when he is Rich, he has fun. He does it, and it just comes naturally to him. The best sessions he doesn't even prepare for. I imagine delivering it. I'm just naturally, I don't even have to prepare for it. That's what he said. And then what is your first step? I'm going to calm myself. I'm going to do some breathing exercises. I'm going to go in and have fun as if it's just easy and get my results. All of those things were things I wrote down on that sheet I gave you, and that gave me my script. So then when I said, close your eyes, I was just feeding back to him in a very truncated form here. I would spend a lot more time with metaphor and other things if we were doing a whole hypnosis process, but just for the demonstration, I just fed back to him the information he gave me from those questions. And then, Rich, thank you very much, he said, and then it was all those words that you used and all of that. I used his words. I didn't use any words off my sheet or out of my shit. I used his words. Right? And no wonder there was no resistance. Always all those great words you used. I used the words you gave me. That's what made them great. But here's what I want you to know as hypnotists. You don't have to make it up. Let them make it up, and they will give you all the credit for being brilliant. If you stray off and do something that they didn't, oh, I've got this brilliant idea of something that I can drop on them here, and then you drop it on them and they're going, what the hell is that? Well, you don't get credit for being brilliant. Okay? You get credit for, well, I don't know if that worked really well. But if you just use their words, their ideas, and what they know, if you elicit from them all the ways that will create results for them, you're going to get that. Now, I did a little mini process there in the beginning because he said, I've experienced it before. As soon as he said I've experienced it before, then I tried that asset recycling process that I sent you. Okay, then I just did a little mini, let's go back and look at that and find out what it brought in. Just right there. We did a little regression to that event. And I got some information out of that. Now, if that was really important, we might do a whole regression process later to find out more about that. But there's no reason why you can't do a mini regression or a mini timeline or a mini borrow responses or a mini parts work right there as you're asking the questions. Do a little intervention right there. And when it works, bing, 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 bing. That's exactly what I'm going to do in the hypnosis process. When we ratify it, when we solidify it, when we make it formal. Because the change is already made. And Rich knew that when he said at the end, well, I guess as I'm going to start it right now with all of these things that I've got to work on now. Right? So we know the change has already been made. Now it's just solidifying it for the conscious mind. Not just giving the conscious mind something to hold on to. So that's the demonstration. Quickly, are there any questions? Because we only have 20 minutes left. I'm so sorry. But I want to break you up and I want to let you practice. Yes, Susie. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you had. Okay. I will be. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say no questions and no apology for that. The demonstration was golden.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Well, thank you. I will also send you one. I was going to say one that features Susie, but I don't think that that's appropriate for this particular discussion. That's a different discussion. But I will send you a discussion of the outcome specification form, and there will be a demonstration with that so you can watch it afterwards, so you'll get a little bit more than we had the time for this today. But I want you to practice it. So take that outcome specification form. I'm going to move you into rooms, quickly decide who's going to be the hypnotist and who's going to be the questioner. And it's hard to rush through it in 10 minutes, but I'm going to see if you can do it 10 minutes a piece, okay? You don't have to follow up with a hypnosis process yet. I just want you to gather the information at this point. And as you're gathering the information, make little notes on your sheet if that light bulb goes off. Ooh, I think we could start there. Ooh, I think we could work there. Ooh, that's something that we want to latch on to. But basically what you're doing is you're associating them into the problem. You're dissociating them from the problem, you're associating them into a solution, and then you've got where you're going to copy and paste. That's the information you're going to get out of this outcome specification. Any questions? Okay, let me pick these breakout rooms. Let's see, 2, 4, 6.
Karen.
And at 10 minutes, I'll give you the sign when it's 10 minutes left, and then switch, and then I'll give you the sign to come back. Just about everybody's back.
So don't forget to push record.
I did it. Man, I have managed this technology all on my own the whole damn task. This may be a first, Michael. But I want gold stars on my...
I found that the moment I say it aloud to someone, even if nobody else is in the room, the moment I say it aloud, that sinks in for me that I'll get it done.
There you go. There you go. That's a great strategy. Okay, so I know that we're out of time. I'm going to keep you about 5 minutes longer, 10 minutes longer. I'm sorry. If you've got to leave, you got to leave. But tell me what you discovered. Just anybody unmute your mics and just tell me what you discovered, how that went for you. Anybody who wants to start. Yes, go ahead, Heidi.
So I discovered it's really a lot of information that you have to get right when someone is having an issue that's not a small issue, and you really want to take care to dig in and find out what's really the issue. Right?
Yes.
I mean, they're saying one thing, but there's more to it probably.
And how did you know to dig deeper?
Well, because my person's goal and my life experience is similar. So that's how I knew, right? I had an experience, yeah.
Yes, perfect. You just know. right? But yes, that's the whole point. You have to get down to the lowest common denominator, or the lowest thing, or chunk it down to the lowest level, right? To really
Right.
get to what it is. So if they say I need more confidence,
Right.
where, how, when, and what's that going to do for you?
Right.
Any other comments? I didn't mean to cut you off, Heidi. Did you have more?
Oh, I have this. Look it. I got. I don't know.
Yay! Thank you.
I found this on the internet.
It is. There wasn't. Did you get a used copy already?
No, it's no, it's new. It's brand new. There's no highlights.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anybody else have? Oh, look at that! I love all of you guys. I will be. If you'll go to the place in the book where it says log on, you can get all sorts of scripts, and you can get another little video on the magic words and language patterns as well. And you get on my mailing list where you get monthly language patterns. So you can always leave if you don't like it. Were you? Yes, Jerry.
So I found it interesting to do that. Of course, it's all that chunking down and getting the information, but then I found that to continue asking the questions in a way that made sense and had a bit of a flow, to really use her words and to use her language and to adapt the questions using, basically adapting it to her language to keep it flowing somehow in a way.
Excellent observation. And understand, these are fundamental questions. The more you understand the flow of the questions, you don't have to ask them in this order. You don't have to ask them in these words. And to make it an actual intervention, because just going through these questions can be an intervention and you are done, right? If you are doing impromptu hypnosis with somebody and you've got 5 minutes, you run through this and you've already placed them in a mindset where they're creating their own success. Does that make sense? Because that's what this line of questioning does. It associates into the problem. It dissociates away from the problem. It looks for solutions. What's your first step is going to be a solution. But by the time you are down there in the questioning, they've already moved to a solution mindset. By that time in the questioning, by and large, you don't have any more resistance. By that point in the questioning, you are already looking at solutions. Right. So they're giving you everything to fill into your language patterns or fill into your script or make a metaphor out of. They're already telling you what their limitations are. If because Rich said that he had previous experience with this, it was a big light bulb for me to go back and do what I sent you, that recycling assets. You're going to go back and look where they had success, and you're going to use what they've already used to create success and paste that onto the current situation. Find out how they can do that. You know, physiology sometimes changes an emotional state. So if they tell you that in that situation they weren't coward and afraid, right now every time I go up to speak, I turn inward. Well, what else did you do? Oh, I was an equestrian and I jumped. I was a barrel jumper. Well, what gave you confidence in that? Oh, my horse and I practiced and we were in the flow with each other and we could feel what's going on. Oh, practice. So if you put in more practice and more work ahead of time, that will help you with this endeavor. You see what I'm saying? We're borrowing. We are using a part. What did that part use, or what did that you use, or what did that strategy use to create your success? And since you already have that inside of you, you can replicate that and create it again. It's very unlikely that someone is going to ask us for something they've never heard of before. So if they say, I want more confidence, if I want something, they have to know it exists. They've either seen it, experienced it, witnessed it somehow, heard about it somehow. So the awareness has to at least be there and they can attach to that awareness. That's what we're finding out as we specify the outcome. It's really hard to work on something vague. That's why we want to boil it down and specify what it really is that we want to get to. And in asking this set of questions, you get them to do all the work. They examine what's worked before, they give you suggestions on how to make it work, and they've invented it themselves. And then there's no resistance because, as Rich said, those great words that you used, oh, all those great strategies that you gave me. That's right. That's right. And you can, it depends on the client. Sometimes you want to tell the client, if the client needs empowering, that's right. And you show them your sheet. This is your word. This is your word. This is your word. This is your word. You have it all inside of you. You can do this for yourself, and then you're empowering them with it. And if they don't need empowering, they just want their taste buds changed. That's right. Now you can order fish and be happy for the rest of your life. Right? So it's all client dependent. And when you get the answers that spell it all out for you, you can proceed from there. But all of the great techniques that you have been taught, all of the regression or parts work or anything else is not going to serve you if you don't have it specified to that particular client, and if you're not using the technique that works for that particular client. And they'll tell you all of that in these answers. Any questions real quick before we go on? Good. So, so this can work as an intervention all by itself. Now we're going to start moving ahead into techniques. Not in this class. We're at the end of this class. I'm holding you over already. But in the coming up classes, we're going to really be digging down into and developing these techniques and how to use these techniques and apply them to certain things. The animal swish is just one iteration of parts work, and Michael is going to go through parts work in the next session in detail, and you can make all sorts of parts work. It's all about transformation, right? We're going to talk more about regression in a couple of weeks. You might notice that what I did with Rich there was some age regression. We went back and borrowed some benefits from an earlier time. It was just the simplest in the world, age regression. I know there are trainers who will tell you you have to get to somnambulism and all sorts of other things. I don't know if Rich was in a state of somnambulism or not, but he certainly gave us some great tools to work with, didn't he? And I don't care where we get the, I don't care what state he's in when he gives me those, as long as we can get to what we're getting to. So we're going to work more on parts and specific regression techniques and that kind of thing in the coming weeks. If you are working on this in the interim, and you've heard this voodoo about abreactions, relax. An abreaction, first of all, an abreaction is not crying. Crying is catharsis. If your client cries in a session, that's not a bad thing. And if you were there wiping their eyes and saying, oh, don't cry, you're doing the same thing everybody else has told them their whole life. Don't be that person. Let them feel their emotions. Encourage their emotions. Let them work through their emotions. If you get, however, stay within your scope, right? Don't do regression if you haven't done a little bit of work in learning how to do regression and how to deal with the things that come up. One way to deal with an abreaction, if somebody does start to do something that you're not equipped to deal with, you can simply say, let that scene fade now. Feel the chair pushing up into your back and your hips and your thighs, and realize that you're safe with me right here in my room, in my office. So you can bring them back in any way that you want to. You can say, let the scene fade. I'm not suggesting that you don't let people feel or emote. I'm suggesting that if you don't know how to deal with that yet, it's easy enough to get out of it by saying, let the scene fade. Come back here and be with me. Let it go for now. Set that aside. Put that in a box. We will come back to it. It's just their imagination, right? So we can make any kind of instruction that we want to. Crying, though, is not an abreaction. An abreaction is a total split in the personality. Unless you're working way outside of your scope, that is not very likely to happen. Creating a split with a personality is not very likely to happen. The lab work for this week. Explore the outcome specification intervention with somebody who wants to make a change. A little bit different than the way you've been doing it up to now, where you've been saying, ooh, come practice hypnosis with me. And they go, okay. Now somebody who wants to make a change, they want to change something, and you can say, I've got this great technique, let's give it a try. And you can just do the outcome specification and get to a list of things, because they're going to tell you right away, what is the first thing that you want to do? What is the first thing that you need to do? What's your first step? Is there anything else that you can do? Is there any other way to get there? So you're exploring all of the success strategies. You're helping them with that. And so you're just going to do the outcome specification sheet. Now, if you know some other techniques, you're more than welcome to follow that up with a simulated hypnosis process or a whole therapy session if you want to do that. But just playing with some of the language patterns, playing with some of the information you gather, creating it into a script, that's what I want you to really work on. Notice the fractionation of trance with your client, even with their eyes wide open. Did you notice as you were asking these questions how your client was going in and out of trance and giving you the answers? They had to access things to give you answers. So that sent them into a trance, into an internal exploration. So just notice that as you're going through the questions. And notice how they will tell you exactly how to proceed. You can stop with the intervention or you can go on with the formal trance. That's your choice. Either choice is fine, but explain your reason for the choice. So the lab work is practice it, discover what you discover, and then decide how you would proceed. Okay? And I want you to explain to me your reasoning for either stopping just with the intervention because the work was done, or proceeding with some kind of technique and what technique you proceeded with. Explain that. Just explain your reasoning of the choice that you made. And then play with the magic words and language patterns on purpose in regular conversation. So if you go to the grocery store and you've got a cashier who's not very happy, play with the language patterns and see if you can change their mood, make them happier. Get a maitre d' in a restaurant to give you a particular table by using some creative language patterns. Try a different phrase in a familiar situation with a friend or a family member and notice the result. If you're always saying, clean up your room, and the kids don't do it, try something else. I wonder if you want to clean up your room before I scream, or you wait till I bring out the paddle. I mean, I don't know exactly what language patterns you'll use. You know your family better than I do. But try it just with family members. And let me know what you discover. As you're just practicing it, I don't care if you do one a day. I don't care if you use all of them. I don't care if you use some other ones that you know. Just let me know how your experiment with language patterns and regular conversation worked for you. And the final thing before we go is, what are the test questions going to look at from this week? There will likely be one that says something like, what is the meta change pattern? What is it? Is it the master technique for removing negative programming from the frontal cortex? Or is it the reality that must be experienced by the client for success? Or is it a pattern of moving from a problem state into a resource state and then applying the resource to the problem trigger for a different outcome? Or is it a change technique invented by Melissa Tiers? One of those answers will be the correct one. If you don't know, ask me. Another test question might be, how do clients experience their timeline? It might be present in front and past behind. It might be past to the left and future to the right. It might be past is down, future is up, and present is eye level. Or it might be all of the above and any other variation a client might imagine. One of those answers will be correct. So I'm going to put it in gallery view, see if there are any remaining questions. And if not, Michael will be with you. I did not write down the date, but I have it here. On the 5th of May. So is that next Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So next Sunday, Michael will be here. And if you have questions, let me know. I will be sending you a couple of videos that will just augment what we talked about today if you want more information. They're not required viewing. They're just to augment. Looks like everybody's together. Thank you for staying. Sorry to hold you over, and love you guys a lot. See you in a week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.